Hayden, Chair of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau Advisory Committee. I'm calling the meeting to order at 10 a.m. This meeting is being held on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, via WebEx teleconference and webcast. Pursuant to Government Code Section 11133, this meeting is being held by teleconference with no physical locations. I would like to ask our WebEx moderator to please explain the format for this meeting.
Thank you. This is the moderator. When public comment, when the committee opens for public comment or public comment is requested, I will be prompted to open the Q&A feature of WebEx, and you will have the instructions in front of you as you do at this moment. And to participate in public comment, you can simply click on the question mark, which is in a square typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen if you're logged in via computer. And you type in the word comment in the text field that appears, and then you send it to all panelists. If you prefer, you can raise your hand by opening up the panelist list or the participants panel, which is the little icon that you see there on the screen. It looks the outline of a person with 3 lines on one of its sides or one of its shoulders. And hover over the mouse or cursor over your name, and the outline of a hand will appear. You will have to click on that outline of a hand to be able to raise your hand. If you are calling in only, you can press *3 from your phone to raise your hand. That's only if you're doing a call-in. And when prompted for both, select either unmute from your phone or from your computer. And that is it for instructions on public comment. I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to item 2 on the agenda, roll call and establishment of quorum. At this time, I would like to ask Angela to call roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning, everyone. As I call your name, if you can let us know that you are here. First, we'll start with Bertha Sanchez Hading.
Here.
Denise Nellison.
Here.
Chi Elder.
Present.
And I'm not sure if Wendy Hatch has been promoted to be able to speak yet, but I believe she is in the audience. Wendy Hatch.
This is the moderator. I promoted a Wendy, but there is no audio connection.
Okay, it may not be the Wendy, the same Wendy, so she is absent. James Moore.
Present.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Present.
With 5 members present, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now proceed to item number 3 on our agenda. I would like to ask the committee members and Bureau staff to introduce themselves. I am Bertha Sanchez Hayden, Chair of the Advisory Committee. As I call your name, please introduce yourself. Denise Nelson.
I'm Denise Nelson, Vice Chair of the committee and a former social worker in the area of aging.
Chi Elder.
I'm Chi Elder. I'm the public member representing the Senate Rules Committee.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
My name is Elizabeth Ichikawa, and I am the probate court investigator on the committee.
James Moore.
My name is James Moore. I am a professional fiduciary in Sacramento.
Rebecca May.
Good morning, Rebecca May, Bureau Chief.
Helen Joffrey.
Hello, Helen Joffrey, legal counsel for the committee and for the...
Angela Quadra.
Hi, I'm Angela Quadra, the program analyst for the Bureau.
Thank you. We will now proceed to item 4 on the agenda. Please allow me to briefly address this agenda item. California law prohibits advisory committee members from discussing or taking action on any matter not on the agenda. However, this item offers an opportunity to the public to comment on items that are not listed on today's agenda. Please be aware that public comment during the agenda item should provide information to the advisory committee members and is not meant to be a discussion between advisory committee and the public. Though this may seem at times like the advisory committee members or bureau staff are not being responsive, following these guidelines is critical to ensuring the rules of the Open Meetings Act are followed. Before the committee asks for public comment, I will ask individuals making comments to not discuss pending complaints, pending licensing applications, or pending disciplinary actions that may come before the Bureau's legal counsel. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications by potentially providing information to the Bureau's legal counsel outside of the administrative record in a case. The committee strongly asks you to also respect the privacy of others by not revealing the names, other personal information, and the conditions of any individual involved in any case complaint. The advisory committee can receive comments regarding the Bureau's process in general, but it cannot receive comments on specific cases. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you may request that the item be considered for a future meeting agenda. However, a request does not obligate the Bureau to fulfill that request. If your comment is related to an item on today's agenda, please wait until we get to that agenda item. Comments at this time are only for items not on the agenda. To allow the committee sufficient time to conduct its full schedule of business, public comments will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. Please do not duplicate or repeat the comments of a previous speaker. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate in public comment, click on the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type the word comment in the text field that appears, and make sure it goes to all panelists before you hit the send button. If you prefer, you can raise your hand by opening the participants panel by clicking on the icon that you see there on the screen under the participants list and hovering your cursor mouse over your name and clicking on the outline of the hand that appears when you hover your cursor mouse over your name. And for audio, *3 to raise your hand. At this time, I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you to our moderator. We will now proceed to item 5 on our agenda. Rebecca, please read the Bureau's mission statement.
To protect consumers through licensing, consumer education, and enforcement of the Professional Fiduciaries Act by promoting and upholding competency and ethical standards across the profession.
Thank you. Any comments from the committee members? I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The instructions are now on the screen. If you would like to participate, click that question mark, type comment, send it to all panelists, or raise your hand by opening the panelist list and hovering the cursor over your name and pressing that outline of a hand. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thanks.
Thank you to our moderator, and thank you to Rebecca. We will now proceed to item number 6 on our agenda. After approving the September 14th, 2022 meeting minutes at our last meeting, Bureau staff noticed 2 incorrect dates listed. Staff has since corrected the errors on pages 1 and 2. Is there a motion to approve the amended September 14th, 2022 meeting minutes?
I move to approve the September 14th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
This
I
is Denise.
second.
I move to
Yes, the chair recognizes Denise Nielsen. Apologies, Denise.
Motion.
Denise, do you just want to confirm that you made a second to the motion?
I think she's on mute.
Oh, sorry. I second the motion. This is Denise.
Thank you. Any discussion from the committee members? There being no discussion from the committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, type comments, send to all panelists, or raise your hand by opening the panelist list and hovering that cursor over your name and clicking on the outline of a hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you to our moderator. Angela, please repeat the motion provided, followed by a roll call vote.
Hello again. Yes, the motion is to amend the minutes with the two dates that were incorrect with the last approval. And I will now take a roll call vote. A yes vote will be that you approve the amendment to be posted to the website. Bertha Sanchez Hayden,
Yes.
Denise Nellison,
Yes.
Chi Elder,
Yes.
Wendy Hatch is absent, James Moore,
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Yes.
Thank you. With 5 votes, the amended minutes will be posted to the Bureau's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. We will now proceed to item number 7 on the agenda. Are there any suggested edits to the December 7th, 2022 meeting minutes by the committee members? Since there are no suggested edits, I will now proceed to ask, is there a motion to approve the December 7th, 2022 minutes and allow Bureau staff to make non-substantive edits if needed?
This is Denise Nellison. I approve the minutes as read.
Thank you. So the call is there a motion to approve the December 7th, 2022 minutes and allow the Bureau staff to make non-substantive edits if needed? So Denise, I understand you move to support that motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Jim Moore. I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion from committee members? There being no discussion from the committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
As the moderator, the Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark, type comment, send it to all panelists, or raise your hand by opening the panelist list and hovering the cursor over your name and raising that hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you to our moderator. Angela, can you please repeat the motion provided, followed by a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. The motion is to approve the minutes as written and to allow the Bureau to make any non-substantive changes as necessary. A vote of yes will be agreeing to doing that and posting it to the website. Bertha Sanchez Hayden,
Yes.
Denise Nellison,
Yes.
Chi Elder,
Yes.
Wendy Hatch is absent, James Moore,
Yes.
and Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Yes.
With 5 votes, the minutes will be posted to the Bureau's website as written. And if the Bureau finds any non-substantive changes, they will make those at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. We will now proceed to item number 8 on our agenda. I would like to invite Melissa Greer to present an update on behalf of the Department of Consumer Affairs Executive Office.
Of Consumer Affairs update this morning. I have several updates that I will share with you this morning, starting with the DCA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee. At the end of January, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee met and decided to focus on training in the first quarter of 2023. Over the next few months, all staff, including DCA's solid trainers and board and bureau leadership, will receive DEI training, and regular and recurring training opportunities will be available. On March 3rd, DCA's Solid Planning and Training Unit led a full day of training for the committee. The training included 4 training modules: understanding the value of DEI in the workplace, learning to navigate diverse conversations, decoding our unconscious biases, and unleashing the power of generational differences. On March 21st, as part of the Director's quarterly, executive officers and bureau chiefs will attend a 1.5-hour DEI leadership training to gain a general understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what it means as a leader and regulator within DCA. In late April, the Solid trainer will be DEI certified and will offer DEI-related trainings to all DCA employees by June. The DEI committee meets again on May 12th. Next is an update regarding strategic planning, which you may find of special interest since your 2023-26 plan just went public in January. DCA's Solid team is in the final stages of updating its strategic planning process, which includes an equity analysis. Environmental scan surveys and SWOT analyses will include DEI-related questions to assist boards and bureaus in developing DEI-related goals and objectives as part of their strategic plans. To further assist the boards and bureaus, sample DEI objectives will be provided. A training video, as well as video messages from Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency Secretary Lourdes Castro Ramirez and DCA Director Kimberly Kirkmeyer, are in the works to explain their perspectives on DEI and how it relates to the board's role as regulators and policymakers. To improve public access, DCA is creating a centralized website page on DCA's website, which is located at dca.ca.gov, that will house all board and bureau strategic plans. Once these new DEI components have been finalized, Solid will begin working with the Bureau and advisory committee members to update your existing plan to incorporate them. As new information becomes available, we will keep your bureau chief informed. In addition, don't forget your required trainings. As a reminder, now is a great time to review all the necessary trainings and submit your certificates of completion to your bureau chief and DCA at memberrelations@dca.ca.gov. All DCA employees and appointees, including advisory committee members, will need to complete the sexual harassment prevention training this year. This training is required every odd-numbered year and is online, self-paced, in approximately 2 hours. The sexual harassment prevention training is available in the department's learning management system, which we commonly refer to as LMS. The training can be accessed online at any time. Advisory committee members must complete board member orientation training or BMOT within the first year of appointment or reappointment. Ethics training within 6 months of appointment and every 2 years thereafter. And defensive driving training within the first year and every 4 years. For your convenience, these trainings are offered multiple times a year in a variety of formats. For more information, a mandatory trainings page has been created to help members identify, access, and track specified trainings. The page includes direct links to mandatory trainings, as well as pertinent information and policies specific to these training courses. Go to dca.ca.gov and click on the DCA Board Member Resource Center page under Required Board Member Training. You can also reach out to myself or Yvonne Durantes, who's the Assistant Deputy Director for Board and Bureau Relations. Speaking of board member trainings, there is still time to sign up for the March training. Next week, on March 22nd, BMOT will be offered as a live virtual day of training. If you can't make it, no worries. It will be offered again and possibly in person on June 20th and October 10th of this year. Members can register for the training via LMS. As we look ahead, I want to share an update on virtual meetings and the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. Legislation passed last year amended provisions of the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act to extend the ability of state bodies, such as DCA's boards and bureaus, to conduct public meetings virtually through July 1st, 2023. Under the current provisions, no physical meeting location is necessary. Board members' virtual locations do not need to be open to the public, and members of the public can participate virtually or telephonically, increasing accessibility. Absent legislation to extend these provisions, DCA's boards and bureaus will not be allowed to conduct meetings virtually. After July 1st, boards and bureaus will have to return to the Open Meeting Act teleconference meeting requirements that we were accustomed to before the COVID-19 emergency. I also want to quickly tell you about our BBR winter newsletter. In case you missed it, Board and Bureau Relations circulated its winter board member newsletter at the end of January. The issue includes an introduction of the BBR team, helpful resources, training details, and department updates. Please visit dca.ca.gov to check it out. Lastly, I want to tell you about our new Enlighten enforcement process. You may remember that last year, the Enlighten licensing process project team released its report, including recommendations on how to improve licensing process specifically for the Board of Registered Nursing. But there were many recommendations that other boards could implement as well as to improve their processes. Starting in March, the team is now moving to enforcement, and the Dental Board of California has agreed to be the first board to go through this process. On March 2nd, the co-chairs on this project led staff through a review of their complaint and investigation process as subject matter experts from all boards were able to ask questions and provide suggestions. This review process will continue until all aspects of the enforcement process have been reviewed. The end result will be another report with recommendations, a sample enforcement policies and procedures manual, and a critical review of the process that will be used to update DCA's Enforcement Academy training. This process will also assist in identifying the codes used for reporting to ensure all boards and bureaus are reporting their data accurately. As I close, DCA and the BBR team look forward to working with and assisting you throughout this new year, and especially through your sunset review process. We are here to support you and the important work you do. Please reach out anytime. I would also like to take a moment and congratulate She Elder on her recent reappointment and say thank you for your continued service and your outstanding contributions to the Bureau. And I can't forget to say good luck tomorrow, Chief May. I know you will do a fabulous job. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning and welcome any questions from the Bureau.
Thank you. Any comments from committee members? As there are no comments from committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate and you're logged in, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment, send it to all panelists, or open the panelist list and hover the cursor over your name and click on the outline of a hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you to our moderator, and thank you, Melissa, for such an in-depth overview and update. We will now proceed to item number 9 on the agenda. I would like to invite Harmony Del Filippo from the Department of Consumer Affairs Budget Office to present the budget update.
Good morning. My name is Harmony D. Filippo, and I am the budget analyst with DCA. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present the advisory committee with an update on the budget. I will be speaking to agenda item 9 and the documents that are included. Do we have 9A that we can start with, please? Thank you. So I would like to start with a quick overview of the fiscal year 22-23 FM fiscal month 7 expenditure projections. This report includes 2021-22 actual expenditures compared to 22-23 budgeted and projected expenditures. Over this 2-year period, costs have increased mainly in the personnel services and AG costs. For fiscal year 22-23, the Bureau is projected to spend approximately $714,000, of which $440,000 is expended on personnel services and $274,000 on operating expenses and equipment, OE&E. Next, I will review the fund condition, which is agenda item 9B. The attached fund condition statement is based off of the 2023 governor's budget and has been updated with fiscal month 7 projections. This also includes 2021-22 prior year actual revenues and expenditures, as well as out years, giving you a 5-year view. I will start with the first section, revenues. The Bureau began 21-22 with a fund balance of $345,000 and collected $614,000 in revenues, with $95,000 from initial license fees, $503,000 from license renewals, and $16,000 was collected from other issuances of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. For 22-23 current year, the Bureau is projecting revenue at $621,000, with approximately $82,000 projected from initial license fees, $519,000 from renewal fees, and $20,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. You will notice that revenue is projected static in budget year and the out years. Next section is the expenditures. The Bureau's 22-23 current year expenditures are projected based off of fiscal month 7 at the $714,000. The fund condition projects ongoing expenditures with a 3% growth factor increase per year. The fund condition also shows the Bureau fully expending its appropriation ongoing. To the extent the Bureau does not fully expend its appropriation, any savings remain in the Bureau's fund, which help the reserve balance. The Bureau notes future legislation or other events could require the Bureau to request additional resources through the annual budget process, which would increase cost pressures on the fund. The last section is the fund balance reserve. The fund balance reserve is the amount of funds remaining at the end of any given fiscal year. The Bureau's fund has a statutory fund balance limit of 24 months, but typically 3 to 6 months is considered sufficient. As previously discussed, the Bureau's fund balance reserve is currently declining due to a structural imbalance. This is due to increased expenditures outweighing the revenue. The 22-23 structural imbalance is anticipated to increase and accelerate in budget year 23-24, which will cause the fund balance to become insolvent in 24-25. As previously noted, the Bureau's costs are projected to increase from costs associated with the new legislative mandates established with AB 1194, which drastically exacerbated the structural deficit. The Bureau will need to take actions to reduce or eliminate the structural imbalance to remain solvent. The Bureau further notes existing license fee types currently being assessed may be increased through regulations, which could eliminate the existing structural imbalance. Bureau staff has been working with the DCA Budget Office to identify possible actions to reduce or eliminate the structural imbalance to ensure the Bureau remains solvent and able to fully meet its licensing and enforcement mandates. Bureau staff will continue to update the advisory committee on its findings and strategies for addressing the structural imbalance as appropriate at future advisory committee meetings. That concludes my presentation, and I will be available to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now ask if there's any comment from committee members. As there are no comments from committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark in the square, type comments, send it to all panelists. Or you can raise your hand by opening the participants or panelists list and clicking on the outline of a hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you to our moderator, and I would once again like to thank Harmony for the clear and in-depth update. We will now proceed to item number 10. I would like to invite Daryl Holloway from the Department of Consumer Affairs Legislative Office to present the legislative update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Daryl Holloway from the Department of Consumer Affairs, and I'm here to give you your legislative update. There are some important dates that are going on right now. February 17th was the last day to introduce new bills for this legislative season. That's already passed, so all of the bills are in. The legislature has a spring recess coming up from March 30th to April 10th. In between April 10th and the beginning of June, the bills will be making their way through various committees. And then June 2nd is the last day for bills introduced to make their way out of the House that they were introduced in. There's 3 bills that I'm going to be talking about today. The first one is Assembly Bill 1262. It's authored by the Committee on Business and Professions. This bill would specify that only a person who holds a current and active license from the Bureau would be authorized to identify themselves as a licensed professional fiduciary. The next bill is Senate Bill 232, Mental Health Services Gravely Disabled. This bill has to do with the Lanterman-Petra Short Act, which provides for the involuntary commitment and treatment of a person who is a danger to themselves, others, or who is gravely disabled. The act would also, or does also, provide for a conservator to the The act also provides for a conservator of the person or estate to be appointed for a person who is gravely disabled. Existing law for the purpose of these provisions defines gravely disabled as a condition in which a person, as a result of a mental health disorder, is unable to provide for their basic personal food, clothing, and shelter needs. This bill would change the definition of gravely disabled to be a condition in which a person, as a result of a mental health disorder, is incapable of making informed decisions or providing for their own basic personal needs for food, clothing, and shelter, or medical care, without significant supervision and assistance from other persons. And as a result of being incapable of making these informed decisions, the person is at risk of substantial bodily harm, dangerous worsening of a concomitant serious physical illness, significant psychiatric deterioration, or mismanagement of essential needs that could result in bodily harm. The bill would also add anosognosia to the definition of gravely disabled. The last bill I'm going to talk to you guys about is Senate Bill 280, Review of Conservatorship Care Plans. Beginning January 1, 2025, this bill would require a conservator within 120 calendar days of appointment and no later than 10 days before a hearing to determine the continuation or termination of an existing conservatorship and to file a care plan regarding the care, custody, and control of the conservatee. The bill would require the care plan to be delivered to specific persons, including the conservatee and their attorney, but would otherwise make the care plan confidential except as specified, thereby limiting public access to these records. The bill would require the Judicial Council to develop a mandatory form for the care plan, which would be required to be included, be required to include specified information, including descriptions of the conservatee's living arrangements, level of care, and any plans to modify these within the next 12 months. The bill would impose sanctions for a conservator's failure to timely file a care plan, including authorizing the court to impose a civil penalty payable to the estate of the conservatee and authorizing the court to remove the conservator for failure to file a care plan. The bill would require an investigator to review the most recent care plans as a part of the investigation. That's all I have for you guys today. If anyone has any questions, please ask them now.
Thank you. Any comments from the committee members? As there are no comments, I will now
Actually,
ask.
this is Denise Nelson. Can you get a sense of how likely any of these bills are to move along?
It's still pretty early to tell. I'm not confident enough to bet money on any of them passing or failing. It's just still very early, and there's a lot of things that could cause the bill not to pass. They could also be amended in some way, either minor amendments or huge amendments. They could totally change these bills. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really give you a good answer on that.
Are they going to? These aren't 2-year bills, right? These are 1-year bills, basically.
I believe these are 2-year bills. We're at the beginning of a new 2-year session.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
This is Rebecca. I just wanted to chime in and say that yes, I agree with Daryl. It's really early in the process. We should know the disposition of these bills in the fall, right? That's the end of session is in September. So we'll know if they get held over to another year or if they pass or how they're amended and if they make their way to the governor's office. AB 1262, and I was going to talk about it a little bit more in my bureau update. But this bill it's sponsored by the Assembly Business and Professions Committee. I anticipate that this will be the bill that new statutory amendments will go into pertaining to the Professional Fiduciaries Act and to our sunset hearing, or to the sunset review process that we're going under. So I'm happy that a bill was introduced, and the provision that Daryl talked about there was included in our sunset report. So super pleased that that made it in there. So looking forward to see how that bill in particular evolves as the year goes on. Thank you.
Thank you to the committee members who provided comments. If there's no further comments from the committee, then I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
The moderator, the Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, typically lower right corner of your WebEx screen. Type comment in the text field that appears, and make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking the send button. You can also raise your hand by opening the participants or panelist list and hovering your cursor over your name and clicking on that outline of a hand when it appears. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you to our moderator, and thank you, Daryl, for that legislative update. We will now transition to item number 11 on our agenda. Rebecca, please present the Bureau updates.
Moderator, can you put the statistics up for me? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so hello everyone. I've got some updates, quite a lot of updates for you today. So barring any objections, I'll just go through it and we can take questions and comments from the advisory committee and of course from the public at the end. So the application and licensing and enforcement statistics are on the screen and in the materials if you want to follow along with me. So this represents a snapshot in time between July 1, 2022 and January 31st of this year. As of July 31st, the Bureau has issued 1,355 licenses. The number of active licensees as of September 30th was 847. The Bureau received 46 applications during this time frame and has issued 30 licenses. The processing times for complete applications from July through September was 35 days from receipt of the application to providing an approval to sit for the exam, and then 15 days from passing the exam to issuing the license. And for the second quarter, October through December, 16 days from receipt of the complete application to provide approval for someone to sit for the exam, and then 16 days after passing the exam to the issuance of a license. The Bureau processed 189 renewals in the first quarter and 214 renewals in the second quarter for a total of 403. Processing timelines were 15 days in the first quarter and 19 days in the second quarter for processing renewals. And the Bureau received 87 complaints and closed 100 complaints. And you can see how they're divvied up from fiscal year to fiscal year. The average days to close complaints were 187 days in this time frame. And at as of January 31st, there are 82 pending complaints in the queue. The Bureau has issued 18 citations and has initiated 7 Attorney General cases. So for outreach events, I was happy to attend a senior fraud event hosted by the Shasta County District Attorney in Redding last week. And next month, I will be attending a local lunchtime meetup of licensees in San Luis Obispo. So if you hear of any events that you would like the Bureau to attend, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via email. So for the newsletter, the most recent newsletter was posted to the website, the Bureau's website, and mailed to the Bureau's interested parties list in January. Staff is now working on putting together a mid-year newsletter. And as I always say, the newsletter is one of the best ways for the Bureau to communicate with licensees and the public. So please, if there's something that you would like to see the Bureau report on in the newsletter, please do not hesitate to email the Bureau. The newsletter always includes a segment on new legislation and regulations and reminders about the requirements surrounding licensure. The strategic plan was finalized in January and posted to the website and sent out to the interested parties list. And like we did last year, I plan to bring the strategic plan objectives forward to discuss and strategize over with the advisory committee members at our upcoming meetings. And now moving on to sunset review. So the hearing with the legislature is scheduled for tomorrow. I'll be representing the Bureau before the Joint Assembly and Senate Business and Professions Committees and fielding questions from the legislators about the Bureau's functions. The director of the department will be with me and representing the department. And in the meetings that we've had with legislative staff in preparation for the hearing, I anticipate that the Bureau's financial situation and pending fee increase will be front and center tomorrow. And as I mentioned with AB 1262, I'm super pleased that the legislative staff have been receptive to working with the Bureau on the many issues that were identified in the Bureau's sunset report. I do not anticipate that any decisions will be made at tomorrow's hearing, but it serves as a really good way to convey the importance of the Bureau to the legislature and the very vulnerable populations served by the Bureau. And again, AB 1262 is going to hopefully be amended to make changes to the act and hopefully to extend the Bureau sunset. And as it makes its way through the process, I promise to keep the process updated. So for website updates, always making updates and tweaks here and there. As you know, and we've mentioned in previous meetings, we recently promulgated retired and inactive regulations. So we're now accepting applications for retired and inactive license statuses. So that information went up onto the website. Forms are on the website. And in the spirit of trying to coax everyone to sign up for the interested parties list, we put a button up at the top, front, and center. That is, of course, I just said that the newsletter is the best way to convey information. But if you're not on the interested parties list, you might never see the newsletter. So really, the interested parties list is the best way to receive information about the Bureau. And then lastly, I wanted to discuss our bill implementation efforts. I realize that the Bureau does a lot of work to ensure that the laws are implemented, and I should probably be discussing these, our efforts at these meetings. So AB 465, you may remember, added a cultural competency component to pre-licensing and continuing education requirements. The Bureau promulgated regulations, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next segment, to codify the requirements into existing regulations. The Bureau updated its forms on the website. Bureau staff sent out a notice about the requirements on the interested parties list, provided social media updates, information in the newsletter, and of course, fielded questions from licensees. And related to AB 1194, the Bureau has mailed non-compliance letters to licensees who have not yet put a fee schedule up on their website. And I'm pleased to report that the non-compliance letters have been successful in inspiring or encouraging licensees to update their websites. We reached out by mailing letters to county clerks at all 58 counties to remind them of the requirements. And we've had some response from the courts, so I'm really hopeful that that'll inspire the courts to reach out to us if and when they sanction the Bureau's licensees. Of course, we sent out information to the interested parties list, information in the newsletter, and provided social media updates. But that's all I have at this time. I'm happy to field any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any questions or comments from committee members?
This is Denise Nellison. I was happy to see that the time it takes to go through the procedure to check for any issues is lessened to 187 days as opposed to, I think it was like 300 and something, right? So that's to me a big improvement. It's not where we want to be, but it's good.
So our performance measures, just to provide a metric, we try and close, or we aim to close complaints within 365 days. And of course, some are going to be closed quickly, some are going to take longer, depending on how complex they are. It is truly a snapshot in time. If you look at the complaints pending, there's still 2 complaints that are open from fiscal year 18-19. So when those close, that average days to close will shoot up. So this is just the ways in which we calculate the data that we have, but it appears to be good. And of course, we're always trying to move complaints through the process to closure. Of course, being thoughtful in that process. So thank you so much for noting that.
Thank you. Before I ask the moderator to open for public comments, I'll just pause to see if there's any further comments from committee members.
Hi, this is Chi Elder. No questions, but I would like the opportunity to just comment. First, thank you, Rebecca, for ensuring that the Sunset Review, and the committee that is reviewing that is aware of the fiscal impact or potential impact of AB 1194. I know that, there was a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that was clear to them. And then also the impact to the vulnerable population, as well as potential impact to barriers to entry into the profession. With the efforts of increasing diversity, equity, inclusion, we want to make sure that, that we don't create, unneeded barriers. So I'm glad to see that is in the forefront. And then also, I do appreciate how you have, the Bureau has disaggregated the data for the enforcement statistics from the years, because that helps to, for everyone to understand that what has been open more recently and the days it takes that to close is different from, those 2 cases that you mentioned that were opened in 2019 and 2020. Those are outliers. And so, how you have the data disaggregated, it helps to show that, that picture. Thank you.
Thank you to the committee members who provided comments. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending the meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, typically bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type comment in the text field. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking the send button. You can also raise your hand by opening the participants or panelists list by clicking on that icon that you see there in front of your screen and hovering the cursor over your name and clicking on the outline of a hand. I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you to our moderator. And thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca, can you now help us proceed to item number 12 and provide the status of the Bureau's approved rulemaking?
Thank you. So our cultural competency regulation, as I touched upon in the previous agenda item, was approved by the Office of Administrative Law on December 28th, 2022, and it became effective January 1, the same day that the statute itself became effective. So it was a nice way for it to come together. I was super pleased by that. It simply codified the requirements from statute into the Bureau's existing regulations. So this one's done. I'm sure we'll have some more rulemaking updates for you at the next meeting. And of course, we'll always keep you posted. And I know everyone here is on the interested parties list, so you'll get an email as soon as anything moves for pending regulation from our office. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would now like to ask if there's any comments from committee members. If there are no comments from committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type comment, send to all panelists. You can also raise your hand by accessing it in the participants or panelist list. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. And thank you, Rebecca, for the updates on both parts of the agenda. We will now proceed to item 13. I would like to invite Helen Joffrey from the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Affairs Division to give a presentation on the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act.
Good morning. My name is Helen Joffrey, and I am legal counsel for the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau, Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. Today I'll be presenting an overview of the requirements of Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, or Bagley-Keene for short. Unless it's a critical point, I will not be reading the presentation to you. The printed slides are available in the materials. However, if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. The laws and policies of the state of California requires the people's business to be conducted publicly. In creating the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau and its advisory committee, through their legislative representatives, the people of California did not yield their sovereignty to the Bureau and thus permit the members to decide what the people should or should not know. Therefore, the people shall be informed of the activities and decisions of the committee. Compliance with Bagley-Keene is critical. Each member can be found liable for failure to conduct public meetings in accordance with the law. To comply, the committee has three main duties. 1, to give proper notice of the meetings. 2, to conduct business in an open session unless specifically authorized by law. And 3, to provide the public an opportunity to comment. Meetings. A meeting is a gathering of a majority of the committee, which creates a quorum, to discuss or hear about anything within the committee's jurisdiction. Excuse me. With a quorum present, the conversations of the members is considered discussion on behalf of the committee as a whole. As this would be conducting the business of the people, a simple conversation of a majority of the members would then become a meeting without notice or an opportunity for the public to comment, which is a violation of Bagley-Keene. When the members are gathered and not discussing anything within the committee's jurisdiction, this is not a meeting. A quorum is required to conduct the business of the committee. Just as members do not want to accidentally create a quorum, neither do they want to lose quorum while attempting to conduct committee business. If the number of members at a committee meeting falls below a majority, the committee may no longer discuss or vote. Are there any questions on meetings? And I'm sorry, we'll ask questions for the public at the end, but do any of the committee members have questions at this time?
Ms. Joffrey, this is Chi Elder. Thank you. I do have a question. So if the meeting starts out with a quorum, but then a member has to drop, then is the quorum no longer, or is the meeting no longer a quorum because a member dropped, or is it still considered a quorum because that's when the meeting started?
No, a quorum must be at all times while business is being discussed. So if we have 2 members over quorum and only 1 drops, then we still have quorum and the business of the meeting may proceed. If we lose quorum, at that point, the members present can listen, but they cannot discuss or vote.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Notice. One of the requirements of Bagley-Keene is meeting notice. While the members should definitely be aware of notice requirements, notice is typically managed and monitored by the bureau chief, staff, and legal counsel. As a standard practice, staff internally draft the notice and meeting agenda. The Legal Affairs Division reviews the agenda for legal compliance, and even the Office of Information Services, our IT staff, keeps an eye on when the notice is posted to the internet and confirms that the document is ADA compliant. To provide a summary of mandates, however, the notice of meeting time, virtual access methods, locations, and an agenda for every meeting must be provided for effective notice. Regular meetings, which is a vast majority, if not all, of the committee's meetings, require a minimum of 10 days notice prior to the meeting on the internet and provided to individuals as requested. Nothing may be added to the agenda within 10 days prior to a meeting. Emergency or special meetings are only permitted for reasons specified in law and do not seem to apply to this committee. However, if one of those unique meetings became necessary, legal counsel and bureau chief would coordinate and lead you through the statutory process. Locations of the members during a meeting is required by law, but the requirement is currently waived through July of this year due to virtual meetings for COVID safety. Meeting locations and materials must be ADA accessible. Are there any questions about notice? Seeing none. Open session. In open session, the meeting follows an orderly pattern to permit the public to follow along and to focus the committee's full attention and consideration of each item on the agenda. A meeting may not start before the notice time, but may begin after. The chair or staff announces which agenda item the committee is starting, and then the item is presented. If no action is needed, the next item may begin. If action is needed, or if a member wishes to take some action, the committee may discuss before a motion is made and or after a motion and a second are made. It is important that the discussion remain on topic and at minimum on an item noticed on the agenda. If a motion is made without a second, discussion resumes or another motion is made. The committee is asked to discuss, and then the public is asked for comment. Additional committee members may continue discussion after public comments occur, and when discussion appears complete, the chair calls for final discussion, final public comment, and then the members vote on the motion. Votes. To vote, a member may support the motion with a yes vote, oppose the motion with a no vote, or vote abstain. An abstain vote is a vote, but essentially communicates that the member is willing to accept whatever the majority vote decides. A recusal does not count as a vote for quorum purposes. Are there any questions about votes? Seeing none. Public comment. It is always a good time to ask for public comment. When in doubt, ask for public comment. The committee may ask for public comment before, during, or after committee discussion on an item, but the public must be granted an opportunity to comment on each agenda item. In person, the chair may become aware of a need for public comment when people begin to approach the microphone or raise a hand. With virtual commenters, the chair should be particularly careful to ask for comment as there is no nonverbal cue. The chair is permitted to set a reasonable time limit for comments. Part of every meeting, as we saw today, is an opportunity for the public to bring up items not on the agenda. As the meeting is for the conduct of the public's business, the public may ask for any topic to be considered for a future meeting or make a relevant announcement, etc. The committee may not discuss the comment as, by its nature, it is not on the agenda. The committee may only discuss and vote to add the item to a future agenda. However, it's not necessary to discuss or vote on placing the comment on the agenda, as this can happen internally or be an item that staff can handle with the individual. Are there any questions about public comments? Seeing none. Issues during a meeting. Bagley Keene meetings are expected to be conducted in an orderly fashion for the benefit of the people. However, members of the public may make comments that seem harsh. Harsh but calm criticisms or expressions of need are an acceptable communication of the public to the members. However, personal, slanderous, or profane comments are not acceptable, and the committee must maintain order as a requirement of law. The chair may ask the commenter to speak slowly and to refrain from inappropriate language, request that the commenter stop the disruptive behavior, ask the person to leave, or research the meeting until order can be restored. Even the most orderly meetings, however, may have interruptions of the technical kind. When the meeting has a technical interruption, remain calm and confident, keep the public informed, and perhaps recess while the matter is being addressed. If an individual appearing remotely or via telephone has a technical issue, the member should alert a staff member as soon as possible. This is especially important, as we discussed, when the meeting is close to a minimum quorum, as when quorum is lost, the business of the board must cease or remain strictly informational. Are there any questions? This concludes my presentation. So if there are any questions on anything I've presented, or if otherwise, I would like the chair to ask for public comment.
Yes, thank you. As there's no further comments from our committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type comment, and send it to all panelists. Or you can open the panelist list, participant list, and click on that icon of the person with the 3 lines, and hover the cursor over your name and click on that outline of a hand to raise your hand. No requests were submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Helen. We will now proceed to item number 14 on the agenda. Angela, what items have you recorded from our meeting today for consideration to be included on future agendas?
Hi, I have recorded one item that was brought up by the chief that we would begin to include strategic planning items on our future agendas. So we'll look into if that should be included on our next meeting. Is there anything that I have missed or anything that any of the committee members would like to add? If no one has anything, we could have the moderator open it up for public comment, I guess.
Thank you, Angela.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions on the screen for your reference. Click that question mark, type comment, send it to all panelists. You can raise your hand by following the instructions on the screen. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, and thank you to our moderator, and thank you, Angela, for your assistance with that item, number 14. We will now proceed to item number 15 on the agenda, future meeting dates. The following meeting dates have been scheduled for 2023. Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Wednesday, September 20th, 2023. Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. If you have a conflict with any of these dates proposed, please contact Angela Quadro. Are there any comments from the committee members?
This is Rebecca. I just wanted to note that the June 21st meeting will be held via WebEx, just like this one and the last few meetings have been. As far as I know, there's no mechanism yet, or there's no bill yet in the legislature, although that maybe hopefully my information is incorrect, but I haven't seen anything yet extending that Bagley-Keene exemption. So I would anticipate that we will be meeting in Sacramento on September 20th and then again December 13th, unless something changes. And so we'll certainly continue to keep everyone posted on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any further comments from committee members before I ask the moderator to call for public comments? As there are no further comments from committee members, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
The Q&A is open. Instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark, type comment, send it to all panelists, or you can raise your hand by following the instructions on the screen. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you, moderator. With that, we proceed to our final item on the agenda, which is to adjourn the meeting. I would first like to thank our moderator for all the assistance in today's meeting and all the members who presented. This meeting is adjourned at 11:12 a.m. Thank you.